4, 3, 2. Hi, everybody. It's Jackie Gordon with this week's episode of Ask Jackie Gordon, the Public Speaking Answer Lady Livestream. Today, I'm bringing you the fourth part of my four-part series, Careful, Your Body is Talking. And today, it's all about going from fidgeting to flourishing, how to use your hands. Let's move that slide along. How to use your hands and other parts of your body, other extremities to captivate your audience. So we're talking about body language here today. And as usual, this stream is where you can ask questions about anything related to public speaking. But as I found out, there's not a lot of questions. So instead, I'm going to in addition, I will be presenting an entire hour-long show about how to use your hands and the rest of your body to captivate your audience. But you can ask questions at any time. And at any time, if anybody's out there watching, anyone who's out there watching rather, can make a comment in their chat or in the comment section of where they're watching from. And I will take any questions or thoughts you have. Please be in the live stream with me. So without further ado, we are going to move forward. And sorry, there's something in my tooth, and now I do believe I have an animal making a noise in the background because it's show business, folks, and that's what happens. You never know what's going to happen on show business, folks. So anyway, we'll just ignore her and move on. That didn't work. Oh, it did work. Okay. I'm using those mind skills again. So that was tired, tough, timid, touched, terrified, because we don't have to speak. Our body, as long as we're using our hands and the rest of our body and our facial expressions and our eyes, can speak to the audience without any words. Without words, amazingly without words. Oh, you know what I forgot to do? I didn't reload these screens, so they're going to go. The other way it also works is with words. So you could say, I'm tired, or I'm tired. I'm tired. I am so tired. I'm tired. I'm tired. Tired of all of this. So combining your words with your facial expressions, your gestures, your body language can also make the same words sound differently, no matter in millions of ways. Not millions, maybe a lot. Maybe a million's a little bit of an exaggeration. So you want to use everything together for your audience. So pairing your body language and your eyes and your facial expressions and your gestures together with your message, your words, help to get it over to your audience and engage them. Oops. So in today's stream, just make sure I didn't advance the slides too quickly. Oh, see, I did. I knew I did. I had a feeling I did. Move that slide back. So in today's stream, we're going to talk about why the hands and body are important. We're going to talk about why the hands and body movements are important to your message, why gestures matter. We're going to talk a little bit about the science of using your hands. Yes, it's scientifically proven, folks. We're going to talk about how much or how little you should be using your body language and your gestures. We're going to talk about the most popular gestures. And look at that little tiny words I put in there. We'll talk about the body movement benefits. I could have made that a little bit. We'll talk about body lingo don'ts, the no-nos, the things to avoid. And we're going to talk about how to improve your body language and your gestures. And also we're going to go over some body lingo tips, and we'll talk about practicing and evaluating yourself. And then we'll be over, and that should take about an hour, folks. So next up. So hand and body movements are to support and enhance your words and your facial expression. It kind of goes, the words are most important, then comes the facial expressions, then comes the gestures, and then you can add some more body movement. Words, your message, your content is the most important thing, but the other things also help to support your message and keep your audience awake. as well as entertained, as well as is engaged. So you want to use them all together. Don't leave anything out, folks. Move along. These slides are slow. I made a mistake today, folks. I did not preload them, and now we're going to have trouble. We're going to have trouble. It's going to be a little slow. I'm going to have to talk a lot in between the slides. So, why do we need them? So your hands and your body, as I said, they emphasize your message. They help you to express your emotions. They make you laugh. They add lots of humor to your storytelling, to what you're saying. They add theater, they add entertainment, and they also send nonverbal messages like the nonverbal messages. Anyway, yeah, so that's why they're important. I love this slide. Our hands, we're going to talk about hands first, conduct our words. So we're all kind of like conductors with our paws. I have to sit up high in the chair so you get my hands on this little tiny screen, especially since I have a slideshow. Your hands, we're all like we're giving a symphony of our message, whatever thing we're using, whatever our story is, whatever our product is, whatever our services are that we're selling to our audience, that we'd like to sell to our audience, we are conducting them like a conductor. And so the hands are important in that light. Now we have to wait. Okay. So your hands, they emphasize your emotions. I'm crying. You know, that was very campy and not very well acted on my pod, but you understand your hands. They also elaborate key points. You can say things like my hands say this, you know, my hands are elaborating. I'm making a point. I'm saying 1, 2, 3. That's where it elaborates. The hands help the audience pay attention. If you stand there like a statue, not so much. And the interesting thing that I discovered in when I was developing the course that I'm coming up with, and all this idea about body language and deep diving on body language, is that our hand gestures as speakers help us to remember what we're going to say. They build in body memory. So it's great to have hand gestures in your presentation because it's going to help you as well as help your audience. How about that? Cool stuff. So, who's handsy? If you're out there and you're handsy, raise your hand. I'm handsy. I am definitely handsy. I talk a lot with my hands. I'm, part Italian back my ancestors. Oh, don't you do it, Mizzy. She's threatening bodily noise. So I'm handsy. My cats are handsy. We're all handsy and handsy. And but the interesting thing about why hand gestures matter is that they're the oldest way we had to communicate was by seeing our hands. We're talking like prehistoric times. So the very important thing that you learned from hand gestures was not that you were safe, that no one was going to try and kill you. So if you could see someone's hands as opposed to not seeing their hand, they could be having a club in it or a hairbrush, a club in their hands. So you never knew. But if you could see your hands, you could see their hands, you felt like you could be safe. You're safe. I see your hands. You come in peace. Whereas the person who's hiding a pen behind their back, not so safe. They didn't have pens in prehistoric times. You heard that from me. It's a fact. Next. These slides are not moving good. One of the things that I hear from a lot of fledgling speakers, even more experienced speakers, is they don't know what to do with their hands. What do I do with my hands? They don't, I guess it's uncomfortable for some people to make hand gestures. It doesn't come naturally. That I see for sure. Often people's hands are like glued to their notes, or they're glued to the podium, or maybe their hands, they've got that out of control. Their arms are flailing, or they're ringing or clinging, or, so they're trying to control their nervousness by using their hands to hold on to something that's solid, as opposed to letting their hands run wild like I do. Not running wild. My hands are not running wild. Every gesture is intentional. I'm just kidding. They are running wild. They're always running wild. But the cool thing is The Science of People is a website that did an examination of TED Talks, and they found out that the most popular TED speakers are the ones who use the most hand gestures. So that's an interesting fact. So imagine that maybe your words, your content isn't the most important thing. It's the fact that you're using your hands to explain to your audience what's going on, what your content, making it easier for them to understand, making it more sticky. Maybe your hands are more important than your words. I don't think so, but they're important. So if you want to be popular, you want to, master your hand gestures. Master your hand gestures and use them to engage and entertain your audience. Like me, ha, ha, ha. You become stealth. Not stealth, skilled. Use your hands like a sword. Now, one of the things that the Science of People says that I don't agree with them, is that there is a hand gesture zone. As you can see in the picture, they think that your hands should not go up here. They should not go below your waist. They should be, just at your waist. They shouldn't go down. I don't know. I don't agree with them. I say my theory, according to Jackie Gordon, is do whatever it takes. So there's no such thing as too much hand movement or body movement or facial expressions. It's a matter of whether or not what you're doing matches your message and is appropriate to your audience. So I say, do what it takes. You have to do what it takes. Everything is for your audience, and you do what it takes to engage and entertain and educate your audience by using whatever you got. So your words, your mom. Sorry. Don't do that. That's not helpful. I'm going to go back. So how much hand and body movement is too much? There's no such thing as too much. There's such things as too little. Standing there like a statue is too little. But you want to do whatever it takes to entertain and educate and engage your audience, because everything is for your audience. So some body movements may not be appropriate for certain audiences, but you know your people, you know your audience, you know what you're selling, you know what your products and services are. So you have to decide what is the right amount for you and use it, but not doing it, not using your eyes. Well, you got to use your eyes, I would assume. Not using facial expressions, not using gestures, not using body movement is not going to help you sell your message or deliver your message or educate your audience. So I say, do whatever it takes. Don't listen to people who say, well, you must keep your hands below your neck. I don't think that. I think that's silly. I think that's ridiculous. So that's my opinion, as you can see. I was also going to illustrate this because especially when you're doing stories, if you're doing storytelling, all of these things really matter in storytelling, and storytelling should always be part of your message because it's what people hang on to. It's the words that matter to them. It's the things that they paint pictures of in their mind so they can have the experience of winning or losing or whatever emotional experience you want them to have that's going to make them want to buy your product or service. So if you're doing storytelling, you could be, I'm hanging on the subway. So here I am, my arms up in the air. I'm hanging on the subway ride, or I'm going to bury a body. So I'm over here digging a ditch. I'm digging a ditch. So, the body language has to be appropriate. That's the most important thing. It's appropriate. It matches the story. That's what works. However, distracting body language, not so good. I picked this picture. I don't have the hair to do this, but if I were going to be talking to you about, my coaching you as a public speaker, and I'm sitting there twirling my hair, probably not going to fly over with, oh, there's somebody's chatting to me. There's a chat. I don't see the chat as an overlay today. Hey, Carolyn, there you are. I didn't have the chat as an overlay today so far, but I see that you're in here. Howdy. Yeah, so exactly. If you got it, flaunt it. You got the hands. Carolyn Zezima, I believe, talks with her hands as well. So yes, if you got it, flaunt it. But you also don't want your body language to distract from your message. So I was on a Zoom recently with a woman who was speaking, and she was playing with the tie to her hoodie. Yes, a hoodie. She was wearing a hoodie, and she was talking, and she's like playing with the hoodie. And all I could do was listen. All I could do was see her playing with the hoodie. I was like, what is she doing? What is she doing? So you don't want your body language to detract from what you're actually saying. So it needs to be appropriate for your message and nothing distracting, which is why you want to practice it. Oops. Now that I added the chat, everything got very small. You do want to, at times, pause. So I'm very handsy, but I actually write in pauses. Put your arms down, Jackie. Stop talking, so that people can absorb my message, so that I know I'm giving them time to hear what I said. If they're going to laugh, I want to pause so that they can have that opportunity. If I just keep talking over them or flailing my arms about, it doesn't give them a break. So pausing is important for clarity and to add more impact to what you're saying. So do that. Take a break lay your hands down. It also makes your body language, makes your hand gestures more powerful because they come from a rest. So it's not like you're like blah, 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 and moving your hands the whole time. Shoo, 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 shoo. Stop and then be like ta-da, ta-da, ta-da. So it gives them more room. So do remember to pause. Wait until the slides and be deliberate. As I've said before, with each part of this series, whatever you're doing, you want to be deliberate with your gestures. You don't want gestures that don't match what your words are. You don't want to be like, I'm flying like a bird while I'm trying to sell you soap. Maybe if you're selling bird soap, I don't know. But I'm just saying, make sure that they match. Make sure that they're deliberate. Make sure that they're sharp. Sharp, like a knife. Like a knife. I like this gesture. I must be because I'm a New Yorker. I'm like, yeah. Move those slides along. So there was another group called Quartz at Work that did a review of the TED Talks, and they came up with the most popular hand gestures that TED Talk users use. So I'm going to go through them so that you know, in case you're using them, that these are the most popular. I don't know if they're the best, but they're the most popular. The first one is called, there's measure the loaf, expand and clasp, pinch and point, the countdown, this or that, the fist point, and trust me. And this is what they look like. Measure the loaf. Now they say that this one is so used in TED Talks, it's almost a joke. So I'm not sure you really want to use the measuring of the loaf a lot. Oh, you can't even see. Oh, my hands aren't even in the screen. I should move to where this is getting me a little bit more. Come back. I need to be this far back in order for you guys to see me measuring the loaf and moving the slides. Yeah, so maybe not use that one. Then there's expand and clasp. It makes you seem like you're being sincere. I'm expanding. Yeah. Expand and clasp. Next up is pinch and a point. Carolyn, you might know this one. This one reminds me of my Italian ancestors or people who grew up in New York. They talk with their hands. They're like, this is to make a point about this. This is what I'm trying to tell you. Capiche? Pinch and point. Let's see if that works. I'm trying to move the slides. See what happens if I move them too fast. Countdown. Countdown. That's the countdown. I mean, that works because you say, I'm going to give you this point, 1 point. I'm going to give you another point. I'm going to give you another point. So counting down works really well when you want people to keep track of what you're saying. So that's good. And then you can go this way, or that way. I'm still off the screen. This or that, this or that, this or that. You have a choice when you're gesturing a choice. Go this way or that way. This is my ex-husband. I used to say that if there was a right road and a wrong road, he would always go down the wrong road. Wrong road, Charlie. That was him. Although his name was Martin. Wrong road, Martin. So that's that gesture. I know that one very well. Go down that road, Marty, move on. and the fist point. Now, the interesting thing about the fist point is that you want to use a fist point rather than use a finger point, because a finger point is very confrontational and it puts people on guard, and it's not suggested that you ever do this. It's almost like a mommy telling you you've been bad, pointing at you. You're the one, you're the culprit. So yeah, you don't want to use, so instead of that, they use a fist point. So it's kind of like a softer pointing than this pointing. So don't use this one, use this one. Boop. And the other one is trust me. Trust me. Put your hands on your heart and trust me. I also call this one the con man. I call this one the con man because it can be, yes, trust me, I'm a trustworthy person, but it could also be like, I'm totally scamming you. You have to take your pick. Just trust me. So there are thousands of choices, thousands of them. I could go through these really quickly. There's hands up, like I'm being, or hands up in the air, or rock on, rock on. The okay sign. There's cutting. There's slicing. I like that one. There's nodding. There's salute, saluting. There's holding up your fingertips. Circling, wiping, like a windshield wiper. There's pointing up and pointing down. There's making the little heart. Aw, that's so cute. That one's a cutie. There's ringing. There's stop. There's open palms. There's underlining. We're underlining things. There's no, there's neighing. There's jazz hands. I love jazz hands. Whoops, jazz hands. Jazz hands, jazz hands. There's thumbs up, people. Thumbs up on both sides. There's pointing, which we said we don't do. I mean, pointing can be okay if you use it, maybe if you're pointing into your own hand. Whoops, pointing into your own hand. Pointing is not so bad. But pointing in people's faces, they don't like it. They don't like it. There's fist bump. There's fist raise, there's fist pump, and then there's Arsenio Hall. I added this one today. Remember this one from Arsenio Hall's show? Woo, 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 woo. There is the peace sign. There's the handshake. There's clapping. There's drawing. There's beckoning. There's waving. There's talk to the hand. We all know that one. That's one of my favorites. Talk to the hand. And then there's surrender, which is almost like having your arms up. It's like, there's a little fear in there too. Arms up. There's sleeping. And then there's palms up, palms down, palms up. And then there's measuring. And again, counting. So there's many, many more. I just picked some of my favorites from that group. But the trick is to use them, especially online. As you can see from the weird way that my camera is, there's not a lot to go with when you're presenting online. So if I didn't use my hands, all you're going to see is my face, which is not so bad, except it's just my face. So you want to use your hands in order to further, accentuate, emphasize, add emotion, all the things with your hands as well as your facial expressions, because that's all you have when you're online. And of course it works when you're live as well, but you want to make sure that when you are online, you're actually using them to entertain your audience, to engage, to emphasize, because otherwise it's just a talking head. I'm just a talking head. And that is not as interesting as it sounds. So what do we do with the other body parts? What do they add? What are they good for? The other body parts. So we've talked about the eyes, and we've talked about the facial expression, and now we've gone into the gestures. I didn't put this one in. This is the, what's that? What was it called? The banana? What was that dance called? Okay, if anybody remembers the name of the dance, they got to send it to me. The one that was like, the mashed potato. Do the mashed potato. Do. But then we have the other body parts. That's everything else besides, that's the arms, the legs, the torso, mostly the feet and legs add to this. They add a lot. They add entertainment. They add, I'm being attacked now. They certainly add energy, moving across the room, adding movement. Oops, that's not the one that forwards the slides. They certainly add humor. You see it a lot in slapstick. You see it in comedians. Moving your body adds humor. Very important. Drama. You know, the entire way that you're standing, when you look at these examples that I picked, you know, they're telling stories. The body is telling you a story. It's adding the theater. It's adding the drama to your presentation. They give you the feeling of confidence, and they exude confidence to the audience. The confidence. Oh, you know, like the woman who was in the. I have to reference the Australian. I have to reference the Australian break dancer, because that took some stones, didn't it? So she certainly exuded confidence as she was rolling around on the floor and hopping around like a kangaroo and whatever. I have my opinion about that, but confidence. She certainly exuded confidence. And that was with all the body moving. Not breakdancing, though. She wasn't breakdancing. And it also makes your message stick. So when you add movement, body movement to your message, it sticks. It's painting a picture in the mind of your listeners, and it helps your message and what you're saying stick to their ears, stick in their heads, stay with them, because that's the point. You want to say things that are valuable, things that are going to stick in the minds of the people that you are talking to, because that's why we speak. Say valuable things that they want to use later, so they remember them by adding all the movement to them. Now, the ones that are don'ts, the body language don'ts. As I already went over, we do not point. We do not point at the audience. They do not care for it. They do not like distracting movements, or, you know, flipping your hair, looking at, pulling out a mirror and looking at yourself while you're talking to your audience, whatever, some other distracting movements. Maybe picking your nose. Don't do that. That's also disgusting. Playing with parts of your, you know, some people have a habit of playing with their hair or pulling on their ear, or, you know, shaking. Some people sway. That's a very distracting movement. They shuffle. They go back and forth when they're talking, because it's like a nervousness. So you want to try and find some solidity under your feet so that you don't move in an awkward manner. You don't want to be pacing nervously. I used to work for this guy at a restaurant it was a restaurant that lasted about 5 minutes in New York City, but the guy had a mustache and they were losing money, like they were bleeding, like they were gushing money, losing money. And the owner had a mustache, and he used to walk around pacing in that restaurant and twirling that mustache. That would be very distracting if you were a speaker. So don't be the man. I can remember him to this day, and I'll have to tell you, this was probably like 1985 when I worked there. So it was a long time. I was a child. What else can we talk about? We can talk about slouching. No one wants to talk to a speaker who's like this, slouching on the chair, or slumping over, or hanging over the podium. A lot of people speak standing up, but you can be on a panel and you can be like, this is not exude confidence. This is not exude competence. This is like you're bored with yourself. No one wants to see that. Ain't no one got time for that. You do not want to do this. Ta-da! You do not want to present. See how thin my hair is. We don't want to present with our backs to the audience unless it's for effect. I have done it for effect, but that was in a speech about how to give eye contact and how to improve your eye contact. So I started with my back to the audience so they could see that this was not going to work. The back to the audience is a bad idea. Don't do that one. The other thing is inappropriate gestures. Now, I'm not going to do any inappropriate gestures, but you know what they are. There are certain gestures that we just don't do. Well, I take it back again, because I don't like to put walls around these things. Inappropriate for your audience gestures. Now, I certainly do use inappropriate gestures, but not usually when I'm speaking on stage to people that I'm trying to teach about public speaking. You keep that stuff in your house. You keep it amongst your friends. But if you were perhaps giving at maybe at a conference for rap musicians or heavy metal band. They're going to have some gestures that you would not play with the Daughters of the American Revolution gathering, with the moms club. I don't know, maybe they would, maybe if they're drinking enough Chardonnay, I don't know. But you want to keep your gestures appropriate to your audience, and you don't want to go off and do something that they're going to be like, oh my God, I can't believe she gave us the whatever, So keep it clean. Keep it as clean as your audience is going to be on your side. You do not want them to come for you with pitchforks. And what are those things that they burn? Pitchforks, and I forget what the other thing is. Pitchforks and those things that burn, to burn the place to the ground. I don't remember what they're called. And also you have to be careful about the culture. And I'm talking the ethnic culture, the country culture. Different people around the world have different gestures that they find offensive. So you do not want to use offensive if you're speaking in Saudi Arabia or someplace where they might be particularly particular about their gestures. A lot of Asian countries, you want to be careful that you're using gestures that are not offensive to them or mocking them. So I'm not going to do any of those gestures either, but these are things that you want to steer clear of when you are a public speaker, speaking to the public. You want to make sure that what you're saying and what you're doing is appropriate to your audience and is inoffensive to your audience. So those are the don'ts. These are the don'ts. Don't you do it, don't you do it, don't you do it. Oh, look, Carolyn has a story for us. For some reason, in the 7th grade, I was elected class president without any real election process. What does that sound familiar to? Without nominating herself because I was smart and I just won without any campaigning. I did nothing, frankly, because I didn't even realize I was supposed to do something. Then comes the 8th grade and there were elections and speeches. I gave a speech and apparently also did a dance because A, I lost, and B, apparently my shifting and swaying and pacing and movements were so distracting and entertaining. So you lost or you won? But you lost because of the movement, or and you won because of the movement? I'm not sure. Let me know. But yes, you definitely don't want to. I mean, it is entertaining. The Australian woman was entertaining. She was inappropriate, but she was entertaining. So she's famous now, I guess. I don't know. Maybe I should be in the Olympics. I don't know. Maybe we should all be in the Olympics. Or should we? I think I'm not going to tell you my opinion of that unless you see me privately. If you would like to know I'm actually an Australian citizen, so I have an opinion about this. But yes, you want to be appropriate to your audience. Oh, she lost. She lost in the 8th grade. Well, I think it was very brave because in the 8th grade, it was the 7th grade. I was terrified of the kids in the 8th grade. So we didn't have, in public school in New York City, I don't remember there being like class presidents or any sort of election process. That seemed, I mean, I guess maybe there was, but I was not that kind of person. I was not putting myself out there at all. I was shy. I was a shy kid in those days. So even the sound of it now, the what do they call it? The child in me is like, what are you talking about? I would have never done that. I would have been like, absolutely not. Also, I mortally embarrassed myself in the 7th grade and in front of the 8th grade. So I was persona non grata pretty much. They were just like that crazy girl who cursed out her teacher in front of the entire 8th grade. Was never going to be class president or vice president or secretary on nothing. So be careful what you say in front of your fellow students when you are in the 7th grade is another tip for you. Woo! Checkers got to watch out. Watch out for what you say. So how can you improve your body language? How do we make it better? How do we, first of all, do it? That's my first tip, because some people don't do it at all. So the first tip is to even try. You got to get in there and try. But where do we learn about these things? Well, we can watch and learn. Like when I was talking about facial expressions, we certainly can learn a lot about these things from comedians and storytellers because they are masters of it. These are the same comedians I had last time. What do I need new comedians? These guys are hilarious. Watch their videos. Watch your favorite comedians' videos. Watch these Facebook reels. There's so much body language to model and emulate out in the world. It's a feast. and, try it yourself. But I did bring in a clip, and hopefully it's going to work. Oh, wait a minute. Oh, no, sorry. That's next. The other places you can develop body language skills are taking classes. You can take stand-up classes. You can do improv classes. You can take storytelling, theater sports, clowning. I did improv. I did clowning. I didn't do stand-up. I did acting, and I certainly did singing. Singing will help you a lot with all your public speaking. It's great for using for your breath. And singing, you have to use body language as well. I never took miming, as I've admitted here before, but any of these things are going to help you improve your body language. And of course, practicing speaking, figure out what you have to say to your audience and how can you add body language to move your point along. But the thing I want to show you is James Judd. So I'm going to pull in a clip. We're going to try this again, folks. Hopefully it works. I'm going to turn the sound. I don't know. Maybe let me know if you can hear this as I add a clip. I took a clip from this guy. He's so funny. So this is one of the funniest. I've done storytelling, and this is one of the funniest people I've ever been in a storytelling show with, bar none. He slays, and the body language and the moving outside the zone of hand gestures. Just watch. Let's see if this works. Now, will it play? Can I just hit play? Is it going to play in here? This is what I don't understand. These are the things I don't understand. Let's see if I can move it over here and hit play. Does that work?
San Jose, California, the late 70s. It is the summer after 6th grade, and I am really freaked out about starting junior high school because I am the class weirdo. I mean, I'm it. It's me. Do you remember the weirdest person in class? That was me. You wonder what happened to that person? I'm going to tell you. That was me. And junior high school means there's 8th graders. I'm going to get my ass kicked every day. You are so weird. Oh my God, you're so weird. Why are you so weird? You're like the biggest weirdo in school. Look, I get it. I get it. I'm the class weirdo. Look, if I could not be, I wouldn't be. I mean, I'd like to fit in, but I just don't. I mean, I try to be, normal. I even have like a little ritual to sort of knock the weirdo out of me. There's like a time when I'm like home by myself for an hour every afternoon, and I go into my parents' bedroom with my miniature dachshund Brownie, and my parents have this big long credenza on one side of the room, and on one side of it, my mom has like 3 frosted wigs that she rotates throughout the week, and on the other side, there's some bottles of whiskey and a glass, and in the middle, there's a stereo with like some Merle Haggard and Johnny Cash and Buddy Rich records, and I pour myself a thin line of scotch, and I put on one of those frosted wigs, and I put on that Buddy Rich record, and I dance! Did I get it? Did I knock it out of me? I don't know, but I feel great!
Oh, it's still on in the background. That worked! Woohoo! I did it! I got that on there. Yay! I win. I win the internet today, folks. I'm just letting you know. I'm going to win the internet today. So that was James Judd. As you can see, everything is for his audience. His vocal variety, his pacing, his body language, his facial expressions. It's big, it's exaggerated, it's funny. He is so funny. He's an amazing storyteller. You should go Google his name and watch his videos because he is the bomb. I love him. Can you tell I love him? Oh, wait a minute. What happened to my slideshow? Get back in here. Get in here. Okay. Oh, that worked. I'm excited. This is all working better than it was good. I took a week off. I got it together. Maybe a little bit. So our gestures and our body language. They need to be deliberate, like everything else needs to be deliberate. Your words need to be deliberate, your facial expressions, your eyes, everything deliberate. And you can plan your moves to match what your words say or what your emotions are expressing or what's happening in your story. And so you will also want to plot them into the scripts that you're writing or on your cue cards that you're taking with you to the stage. However you learn your presentation, however you practice and however you present, whether you're working from notes or you're working from memory, I like to myself write everything into my script. I put the gestures that I want to remember into my script so that I remember them for a couple of reasons. And also the other thing you want to remember with your hand gestures and your body language is to be exaggerated. When you are on this little screen, you only got this little box. You need your face to be big. You need things to be bigger than life. And when you're on stage, it's the same thing, but it's especially important when you're online because, as I said, it's only the little talking head, and we want the audience to be able to read our expressions. So we need them to be a bit bigger than normal. So a little exaggerated, not crazy, because you don't want it to be distraction. You don't want to take away from your words, but you want to make sure that you're emoting your emotions and you're emoting your facial expressions and your hand gestures. So emote, my friends, emote. So I believe that's exactly what I'm going to do right now. And you want to move, I'm emoting. So you're going to move deliberately. Your body is the same as your hands. If you're going to move yourself across the stage, jump up and down because you're talking about jumping, dig a ditch, bury a body. You want to do it deliberately and appropriately to your audience. Everything is about being deliberate. Because you want to make sure that everything you do, it gets the reaction that you want and plants the seeds that you want in your audience. That's why I talk so much about being deliberate. So we want to plot and plan and plot as well. So you want to, when you're crafting your content, you want to plan your gestures, your facial expressions, and your body movements in, as I said before. And then when you go about putting it down on paper, I write everything out. You want to put it in. So I'm going to do a couple of excerpts from a couple of my stories, so just so you can see how I do it. This is how we do it. This is how she does it. So the first one this is two different ways of doing it. So this one, I have everything in parentheses. And this is an excerpt from my story, Battle Cry, which is a speech. It's actually not a story. It's a speech that I give that's about how I was called a crybaby, because I was a crybaby for a long time. And that as an adult, I realized that the crybaby was perhaps not a weakness, but a sign of my strength. So center yourself and action. I want my mommy! Well, that's not the first thing you want coming out of your mouth when you're about to give a speech. Those words, I want my mommy, were coming out of my mouth at a blood-curdling volume at PS 29 in Brooklyn. It was the 4th grade and the 5th time I was facing the first day of school at a new school because we moved. In keeping with my first day tradition, I am in the hallway outside in the classroom on the floor, screaming and shrieking those words. And I'm writhing and reeling and trying to claw my way back to my mother, who's out of the clutches of the teacher, and after my mother, who is trying to bolt out the door to go to work. I want my mommy, Bernice, come back. So I wrote those in. I wrote in smile. I decided this was the first line of my speech. This is the first thing I said. There was no introduction. They would have introduced me. I would have gotten on stage and I would have been like, smile, because the smile sets the tone for the scream. So if I come up and I'm like screaming, that could work. But if I just come up on stage and I'm like, and then I start screaming, that causes curiosity. That's like, what is she doing? So that's why I did this. So this is how I mapped it out. I don't have a pointer here, but you can see, act dramatically, scream, animate. They're not very specific, but I knew exactly what I wanted to do when I was doing that speech. And I think I actually won a contest with this speech. So whatever I did, it seemed to work. It seemed to work. A speech contest. The next one is another way that I do it. This is an excerpt from a story that I've done, a storytelling show called Pimp My Ride, Making Lemonade Out of a Lemon. And it is the story about the time that Paul signed me up for the 5-borough bike tour without asking me. I was not laughing at the time. I was like, okay. Paul was absolutely right. The 5-borough bike ride was fun. What a thrill to be cruising down the FDR Drive in the fresh air, wrapped in a blanket, having tea and cookies with no cars. As you can imagine, I got a lot of attention from riding in the only pedicab out of 30,000 bikers on the 40-mile tour. People were waving and yelling, and I was waving back. My wave game was very strong. I worked the Queen Elizabeth wave to the babies, the royal one. I waved. I did the babies and small children wave. The finger sandwich while waving and nibbling wave. And then I'm in the pedicab, bitches, and you aren't standing wave. I also work the haters are gonna hate single finger wave for some choice New Yorkers. But I don't really need to demo that. That was a good day. That was a fun day. So as you can see, the way that I did that is I highlighted bits throughout the speech so I knew exactly what the movement I wanted to make was. So I had the little cruising down with the fresh hair wrapped in a blanket. I was wrapped in a blanket because it was a little chilly, and I was eating tea and cookies, and that's sort of a body language. You don't have to nail this. You just need to get it sort of right. The royal Queen Elizabeth wave, the finger sandwich while waving wave, the baby wave, the I'm in the pedicab standing wave, all very dramatic, very funny. That's what it worked. It was very funny, and people laughed a lot when they heard the show, when they heard this story at the show that I was doing it at. So that's how I write it in. So I know, and the interesting thing, I don't know if I mentioned this before, is that when you use the gestures, and as I said, you have to exaggerate them, the thing that happens is you not only help your audience remember what you said, but it also helps you remember what you're going to say. It gives you like a body memory thing that it gets into your, you when you practice with the motions, it gets into your body, and then you don't have to work so hard to recall what you were going to say because the physical movement leads you. So that's cool. So the way that you get better at it is to practice, and pay attention. Just like the other things, but the other I can speak English today. I'm tripping my words. She's tripping her words. As I said in my other three series, in the other 3 series, I said you have to practice. You can practice anywhere. Body language, you can practice in your house, you can practice on the street, you can practice on the subway. Wherever you are, you can practice, and you can also observe. So it's cool to also observe what other people, you might find movements that other people are doing that you could emulate or do yourself. The world is your oyster. I mean, I'm in New York City. There's lots of people around. I guess if you're living on a desert island, it might be difficult. But here, go out, see what people are doing, watch TV. Anywhere you are, you can see a movement, and especially if you find it more intimidating for yourself, you want to make sure that you want to make sure that you feel you can find comfort, and you can find theater, find exaggerations, find movement. Even if it's not comfortable for you, work on it, because as we went through this whole thing, you see how important it is to making yourself a popular speaker that people want to listen to. You want to be entertaining, you want to be engaging, you want to be popular with your audience, you want them to listen to you. So all of these things add to that. So you want to stick your neck out if you have to, and find your body movement and use your body movement. So you can do it anywhere. You can do it on a truck. You can do it on a duck. You can do it anywhere. Like I said, you do it at home, in front of the mirror, in the safe place. You can do it by videotaping yourself, as I am doing right now. I will see way too much body language as I've been using today, but I was just making points. Videotape yourself. If you are recording something online, if you're doing a webinar, or even if you're in a Zoom and you're even a guest in a Zoom and you're going to do any kind of talking, you can also record yourself there so you can see how you work when in a group Zoom meeting. How do you stand out? You see, in these Zoom meetings, it's like a it's the what was that television show? Celebrity Hollywood Squares. And they're just these little bobbing heads inside these little boxes. Not very exciting. So the person who's going to stand out is the person that actually moves and has some facial expression and body language and gestures. So be that person, pop out of that box. And you can also record yourself and see how you do there. You can certainly, and I highly encourage you, if you are standing in front of a live audience, record yourself. Somebody's got a phone in that audience, or set up a tripod. You want to have as much evidence of what you do well and what needs improvement as you can. So if you are going to watch these, if you're going to record yourself, you want to go back and look at the recordings and think, oh, this is where I can get better. And that's what we call self-evaluating. Evaluate yourself. This is so important. You want to know how you feel to you. Now, a lot of people will look at themselves, and I have been guilty. I raise my hands that I've been guilty of looking at myself and being like, oh my God, I'm so stupid. I look ridiculous. Hey, we're all full of self-loathing. Are we not, to a certain extent? Anybody out there not ever had a touch of self-loathing? But when you watch yourself a lot on camera, you get used to it, and you have to learn to be kind to yourself and look at yourself with more evaluator eyes. You're looking at yourself for how you can be better. So don't look at yourself as a hater. Look at yourself as an improver. So that's my tip. That's another tip, because you want to get better, and the only way you're going to get better is to see what you're doing and improve it. Improve yourself. Come on, slides. And when I talk about how, when you're self-evaluating, I evaluate everybody. Whenever I'm online, whenever I'm in a Toastmaster meeting, whenever I'm working with speakers, I sit with a pad of paper and I take notes about what I like and what I don't like about them. Always evaluate people. Even if you're watching people on television, you're watching a comedy show. I don't always do this when watching TV, but I do sit there with my judgy face on and take notes. What is it you like? What is it you don't like? We do this when we're watching television shows all the time. You know, we were watching this show, a new show on Netflix called Decameron. And maybe the first couple of episodes were kind of funny, but then the whole thing went flat. And I'm thinking Paul doesn't like to stop watching things when they turn to garbage. But I'm just sitting there going, oh my God, it's interminable, because I'm in my notes, have got my judgy face on, and I'm just like, this is so boring. It's not funny anymore. The writing went south. I don't know where they're going with this. So, but if you do this, if you look at things with a more critical eye, in terms of wanting to get better, it will really be helpful to yourself. And one of the ways that I always think about things is, how do they make me feel? I'm a very kinetic person. I like to think about, what is my body saying? Am I like, oh my God, I can't stand it, it's so boring? Or am I like real? Am I riveted? If I'm riveted, that's good. We watched a new show. Speaking of TV, started watching a new show last night called No Offense, which is a British crime show that is run by women. It was mostly women, and I really liked it. It was a little bit it was like kind of heartwarming, but also crime. So I like crime, but also funny in a way. So I wasn't riveted, but I was definitely intrigued, and we will watch more of it. It wasn't like the other one that went down the gurgler fast. So you want to think about how you make yourself feel. And it's also really important to get feedback from other people. Don't just leave it up to you, because we can be very hard on ourselves. So you want to make sure that when you are trying to figure out what you can do better, you go to other people and get their opinions. And if their opinions, I'm not saying that everybody's opinion matters. A lot of times they don't. But so you have to judge their opinions and decide whether they're going to be valuable to you. you may not want to go with whatever it is they say, but they could be right or they could be helpful. So look at it with an open mind, pick out the stuff that you think is going to be valuable and chuck the rest out. How is that for some body language? Picking and throwing. Anyway, oh my God, I've almost spoken for another hour, but I'm just going to do a quick recap of what I said, what we've talked about in the last hour. So we talked about how the hands and the body enhance your message. They add clarity. They help you, your audience remember. They help you remember. We talked about how important gestures are because you don't want people to think you're going to kill them. Also, you don't want them to think you're going to bore them to death. So using gestures is going to help people who might worry about the fact that they might be boring to their audience. You remember that everything is for your audience. Whatever it takes to get your message across, to sell your product, to sell yourself, to persuade, to get them to vote for you, whatever it takes, do it. You don't want to do things that are distracting. We did learn some of the more popular hand movements. We can decide whether or not we want to use those. We talked about how the body moves and what the rest of the body adds to your presentations. We're talking about the no-nos. Don't do the no-nos. You can always watch back for those no-nos. That's one of them. And we talked about how you could sharpen your skills by using other genres like improv and stand-up and miming and acting and singing. And I gave you some tips. Be deliberate, plan your moves, write them into your presentations, and always be bigger than life, and to practice and evaluate yourself. I cannot believe that I got this done at 6:58. Nancy Stern, if you're still out there, thank you so much for coming. Carolyn, thank you so much for coming. I really appreciate you guys being in my audience. If there's anybody out there who has not said hi, who's just stalking me, welcome. Does anybody have any questions? Well, I've got 2 more minutes before the lipstick gets wiped off. Any questions? Any questions? Have you got a question for me? I don't even know what's for dinner tonight, kids. You know, what's everybody having? Tell me what you're eating and I'll tell you what you're like. Last night I made a really good duck salad. I did use that duck from Costco. I'm just saying this because I want you to know that I eat. No, I'm just kidding. You all know I eat. You know I eat. But I did talk about this, getting these a half a roast duck from Costco that turned out to be 2 halves, and the packaging to me doesn't make any sense, but we were happy that I opened one up last night. I threw it in the air fryer. It was an actual half a duck, and I crisped it up in the air fryer. It takes like 12 minutes. And the interesting thing about it is that it was not salty. I was very pleased because I have in the past eaten a lot of smoked duck breast, which tastes a lot like ham, and it's absolutely delicious, but it is very salty. But that half a duckling, the Maple Leaf Farms. Yes, I'm plugging Maple Leaf Farms here on my live stream because no one's asking me any questions. That half a duck from them, really, it was quite a lovely thing. You could add it to pasta. I added it to a duck salad with mango and cucumbers and jicama and I think it was arugula. What else was in that salad? Yummy things. Sesame seeds, furikake I threw on top with a delicious pickled ginger dressing. I made some pickled onions as well. That was really good. And I've talked till 7 o'clock now, so I'm going to go now. And I don't know what I'll do with the other duck, but you could also use that duck for fried rice. You could use it for chow fun. You could use it for quesadillas. You could put it in a sandwich. It's got a lot of legs, folks. It's got a lot of legs, that duck. And the fact that it's not salty is another bonus for people who don't want to eat too much salt. So thank you so much for coming to the show. You can connect with me on LinkedIn. It's under Jackie Gordon, or go to my website, speakupgetpaid.com. And I will see you next week on the show where I'll have a brand new theme, we're going to have a brand new subject next week. So catch you later. Everyone have a great